Hi, good morning everyone. Let's get started with our next topic in this training session, which is on add-ons during an upgrade. So basically it's very important that we make a right decision for the add-ons. So during an upgrade, what happens is that there are a couple of things which we need to decide. That is, do we need to upgrade the add-ons? That is, do we have the CDs provided by the add-on vendor? This CD can be found on the upgrade process. So also the add-on will go to a new release. Then the next option is keep option. Basically, that is keep the add-on version of the start release. This is not always possible since the add-on may use functionality of the system and the system version changes. If it is possible, the add-ons on the vendor publishes an upgrade key. The key is required to keep the version. So that is also pretty important. And there is ways where SAP is publishing the keys in a folder and you can get those keys. But we need to make sure that we validate that. Next option is delete. The add-on software can be deleted from the system during an upgrade. Modifications by the add-ons are removed. Tables on the DB are not deleted. So just take note that these are the different possible options that we may have when we are upgrading the add-ons, when we are deciding the add-ons, that is what should be done for the add-ons. Okay, in this particular screen, what you are seeing is you are seeing the different components where basically these components, you can see these are the different components which are available in the system, and here you can see that the different levels of the component is shown here. You can see the level, like say for example SAP underscore basis, which is 731, and start level is 8, minimum level should be 5, equivalence level is 5, calculated level is also 5. So this is pretty fine. Okay, so basically we need to go for each component. What is the start level, what is the minimum level, what is the equivalence level, and the calculated level. Wherever the calculated level is more than the equivalence level, in that case we need to decide what should be done for those components. That is, can we take over the calculated level, do we need to change something, and all that information need to be identified for each of the component which we are planning to upgrade in the system. Okay, so just make sure that we have the right information for those components. So here in this particular case, you can see that on this particular screen the calculated level is nowhere it is shown. So basically we are going with the equivalence level only. So in this case you can see the equivalence level is equal to the current level. Okay, that is extremely important. So that is where we decide how we can, what we need to do for the upgrade components. That is, which component is there in the system, what should we do for those components. That is extremely important, because decision of the upgrade package is extremely important. That will govern whether we are going to lose any data during that particular process or not. So that is extremely important, because we should be very careful during the upgrade that anything which we are selecting in terms of add-on, in terms of support packages, we are not missing any data. There is no data loss. That is the bottom line. So in case if there is a data line, that is extremely serious. So we should take a right decision in that perspective. That is, while including the support packages for the target release, also during the bind patch phase, that we should select and make a right decision. So from the support packages perspective, as we have seen in our subsequent slides, that we need to include the support packages at this phase only. Otherwise what will happen is that we may end up in losing the data. Okay, now in this screen you can see this is a change request. We can include the change request if we have any. If there is none, then we can just click on continue to continue to the next phase. So basically we have an option to include the transports for the change request. If we don't have any of the transport for the change request during this particular upgrade cycle, we can just keep these fields empty and we can continue with the rest of the stuff in the upgrade process. Okay, say for example, if at any point of time the connection from the client is disconnected, in that particular case we may need to restart the startup.bat file for restarting the sum tool. So that is extremely important, just to make sure that we know how we can identify which connections, how we can restart this particular tool. That is extremely important. How we can reset the tool, that is also extremely important, because what will happen is that in case if we encounter some serious errors, some critical errors, we should be able to reset it back to the normal everything, as if we have not done anything in the system. So that is extremely important. And say for example, at this stage the connection is broken between the sum tool and the process that we have invoked at the server level. So now the SL controller is restarted again, and we will again connect to the sum tool using that particular web-based interface at port 4239. Okay, now we are starting to connect to that particular interface. This being a Java tool, it will invoke the interface. It is starting this particular tool, and once it starts we need to connect using our username and password, and we just need to make sure that the first user that need to be connected, or at least one user should be keep connected to the system, should be the administrative user, and we can log in using the username and password which we had initially described before starting the upgrade. Okay, so when we connect again, you will see this type of message. Just click on OK and click on continue. So then we can see whether this particular phase which has failed is what is the reason for this phase. So it will be retried again. So we will have the option of from where we want to retry this particular phase. So once, say here you can see that the patch phase has failed. So we are retrying this particular patch phase, and once it completes successfully, we will go to the next phase. So in case if any of these phase fails, we will have an option to make a call on retrying this particular phase by retrying the option, and we may decide that okay, if there is any serious error, we can look into the log files to find out why that has failed and what caused it to fail. Say for example, in this screen you can see this is bind patch has failed, and we need to review this to see why this has failed. In this particular case, you can see all your calculated levels are same, current levels are same as equivalent level on this particular screen. Okay, so whatever we are seeing here is the same. Okay, so basically what we are trying to do here is that we are trying to find out the calculated level for each of the component that is there in our system. So we need to make sure that we at least provide at the equal calculated level. So once the calculated level is provided, then what happens is that from there on the system takes those levels, and we are also sure that we have provided the right option so that the upgrade can process from there on. Okay, we are again back to the same screen where we have given the change request. Basically we have left this alone because we don't have any customer change request that we would like to include in this particular screen. We'll just click on continue. Okay, after clicking on continue, you can see that same phase is tried again. Okay, so in this particular phase it is checking the same decisions, that is what has been decided. It is trying to import files for full and delta tasks. Okay, then it will perform a merge operation. So that's how the different preparation phases are in the upgrade cycle. And to look into the details about what each phase is performing, we can download the guide which comes when we connect to the URL 4239. At the initial stage, it will give you the information about the upgrade guides. Okay, plus it will give you information about the different phases which is present in the upgrade and the significance of each phase, what is performed and each and every phase, where to find out where there are errors in the phase, where to find out how to do the tweaking and tuning during each phase, and that will help to identify exactly how the upgrade should go in the normal scenario, and in this particular scenario why it is taking more times. It can be validated, it can be evaluated, it can be troubleshooted if required, depending on the scenario. Okay, but the bottom line is that we just need to make sure that we provide and review the log files on a periodic basis, just to make sure that we are having the upgrade in control. Because what will happen is that if we just leave the upgrade at the mercy of someone, basically we are not monitoring the upgrade, it will keep running and we may end up in losing time because it may not be performing anything. And there are phases which takes hours and hours, phases like act_upg, which can run for 24 hours at a stretch, and it may even go longer than 24 hours. And if suppose there is no work happened during these phases, during this particular phase, say for a few hours, or if we end up eventually in losing 24 hours because of our improper review of the log file to find out if there is any activity taking place in the system. Okay, so based on that we need to keep monitoring. So the bottom line is we need to keep reviewing the system, keep poking the system, keep polling the system to make sure that it is up and running, it is performing some activity on the system at OS level, it can be at database level, and just make sure that we are able to identify what is being run and why. If suppose anything fails, we need to review the log file and need to work together to find out why this particular phase has failed, what it takes to get it fixed based on the information which is collected from the log file. So just take note that these things are extremely important, and especially what we discussed is that the phases like is select is extremely important, bind patch phase is extremely important. So these two are extremely important phases because we bind the patches, we bind the packages. We should make sure that we bind the right package and need to make sure that we have the information about the right package. And if we are in the is select state, we need to make sure that we have the right add-on selected, and there is a strategy to add the add-on, to delete the add-on, to keep the add-on, and to upgrade the add-on along with the SAP version upgrade or SAP component upgrade. So these are the key things that is available, and we need to make sure that we make a right decision, especially for the add-on and support packages, because if we fail to make a right decision, we may end up in losing the data, and which could be pretty serious. So just make sure that we decide it correctly, we make right decisions, and we know what could be the impact if any of the phase has errors and what it takes to fix those errors, where to look for those errors, where to find out eventually if everything is running in the upgrade system properly before we complete the upgrade, especially in things like shadow phase, especially in things like before the upgrade is done, during the downtime phase, during the post-processing phase. So we should have the pulse of the upgrade in our hand. Basically, how do we control the pulse? By continuously monitoring the system for any alerts, for any errors, for any badge of failure, for any system failures. And we need to make sure that we keep monitoring the resource utilized on the system, because what could happen is that if we are not monitoring the system may be overloaded and it may not perform anything, or it may get hung because there are no available resources on the system is running for CPU or memory. And we just need to make sure that we identify these things in time, we identify these things in upfront, because otherwise the upgrade impact may get impacted, and if it is a production system also, we may end up in getting into the production downtime window, which may getting, because we are looking at, say, key phases could take about 24 to 28 hours, which may impact our go live schedules. So that is extremely important. Just make sure that we take right decision at the right time, so that we don't end up in losing the data, we don't end up in eating away the time. Okay, so that is pretty much actually I wanted to cover in this particular training session, and just keep watching and we will make sure that you get a full feel of the upgrade by the time we complete the entire upgrade cycle. Thank you for joining and have a nice day. Bye bye.